Om Bhurabhuvah Svah Tatsaviturbharenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is ninth video on Talks with Swami Vivekananda. Talk number 28. Cause of India's degradation. Ancient Vedic customs must be remodeled according to the need of the society and the times. New Smriti to be completed. Place Malur under construction year 1899. Disciple puts the question to Swamiji. Why is it, Swamiji, that our society and country have come to such degradations? Swami Vivekananda answers, it is you who are responsible for it. Disciple, how, sir? You surprise me. Swamiji, you have been despising the lower classes of the country for a very long time, and as a result you have now become the objects of contempt in the eyes of the world. Disciple, when did you find us despising them? Swamiji, why? You priest class never let the non-Brahmin classes read the Vedas and Vedanta, and all such weighty Shastras, never touch them even. You have only kept them down. It is you who have always done like that through selfishness. It was the Brahmanas who made a monopoly of the religious books and kept the question of sanction and prohibition in their own hands, and repeatedly calling the other races of India low and vile. They put this belief into their heads that they were really such. If you tell a man you are low, you are vile in season and out of season, then he is bound to believe in course of time that he is really such. This is called hypnotism. The non-Brahmin classes are now slowly rousing themselves. Their faith in Brahminical scriptures and mantras is getting shaken. Through the spread of Western education, all the tricks of the Brahmanas are giving way, like the banks of the Padma in the rainy season. Do you not see that? Disciple, yes, sir. The stricture of orthodoxy is gradually lessening nowadays, Swamiji. It is as it should be. The Brahmanas, in fact, gradually took to a course of gross immortality and oppression. Through selfishness, they introduced a large number of strange, non-Vedic, immoral, and unreasonable doctrines simply to keep intact their own prestige, and the fruits of that they are reaping forthwith. Disciple, what may these fruits be, sir? Swamiji, don't you perceive them? It is simply due to your having despised the masses of India that you have now been living a life of slavery for the last 1,000 years. It is therefore that you are objects of hatred in the eyes of foreigners and are looked down upon with indifference by your countrymen. Disciple, but sir, even now it is the Brahmanas who direct all ceremonials and people are observing them according to the opinions of the Brahmanas. Why then do you speak like that? Swamiji, I don't find it. Where do the tenfold sanskara or purifying ceremonies enjoined by the Shastras obtain still? Well, I have travelled the whole of India, and everywhere I have found society to be guided by local usages which are condemned by the Shrutis and Smritis, popular customs, local usages, and observances prevalent among women only have not these taken the place of the Smritis everywhere. Who obeys and whom? If you can but spend enough money, the priest class is ready to write out whatever sanctions or prohibitions you want. How many of them read the Vedic Kalpa ritual, Griha and Srota Sutras? Then look here. In Bengal, the code of Raghu Nandana is obeyed. A little further on, you will find the code of Mitakshara in vogue, while in another part of the code of Manu holds our sway. You seem to think that the same laws hold good everywhere. What I want, therefore, is to introduce the study of the Vedas by stimulating a greater regard for them in the minds of the people and to pass everywhere the injunctions of the Vedas. Disciple. Sir, is it possible nowadays to set them going? Swamiji. It is true that all the ancient Vedic laws will not have a go, but if we introduce additions and alterations in them to suit the needs of the times, codify them, and hold them up as a new model to society, why will they not pass current? Disciples, sir, I was under the impression that at least the injunctions of Manu were being obeyed all over India even now. Shivamiji, nothing of the kind. Just look to your own province and see how the Vamachara, immoral practices of the Tantra, has entered into your very marrow. Even modern Vaishnavism, which is the skeleton of the defunct Buddhism, is saturated with Vamachara. We must stem the tide of this Vamachara, which is contrary to the spirit of the Vedas. Disciple, sir, is it possible now to cleanse this Augean stable? Swamiji, what nonsense do you say? You coward! You have well nigh thrown the country into ruin by crying, it is impossible. It is impossible. What cannot human effort achieve? Disciple. But sir, such a state of things seems impossible unless sages like Manu and Yajnavalkya are again born in the country. Swamiji, goodness gracious, so was it not purity and unselfish labor that made them Manu and Yajnavalkya, or was it something else? Well, we ourselves can be far greater than even Manu and Yajnavalkya if we try to. Why will not our views prevail then? Disciple, sir, it is you who said just now that we must review the ancient usages and observances within the country. How then can we think lightly of sages like Manu and the rest? Swamiji, what an absurd deduction. You altogether miss my point. I have only said that the ancient Vedic customs must be remodeled according to the need of the society and the times and passed under a new form in the land. Have I not? Disciple, yes, sir, Swamiji. What then were you talking? You have read the Shastras, and my hope and faith rest in men like you. Understand my words in their true spirit and apply yourself to work in their light. Disciple. But sir, who will listen to us? Why should our countrymen accept them? Swamiji, if you can truly convince them and practice what you preach, they must. If on the contrary, like a coward, you simply utter shlokas as a parrot, be a mere talker and quote authority only without showing them in action, then who will care to listen to you? Disciple, please give me some advice in brief about social reform. Swamiji, why? I have given you advice enough. Now put at least one in practice. Let the world see that your reading of the scriptures and listening to me has been a success. The codes of Manu and lots of other books that you have read. What is their basis and underlying purpose? Keeping that basis intact, compile in the manner of the ancient rishis the essential truths of them and supplement them with thoughts that are suited to the times. Only take care that all races under all sects throughout India be really benefited by following these rules. Just write out a Smriti like that, I shall revise it. Disciple, sir, it is not an easy task, and even if such a Smriti be written, will it be accepted? Swamiji, why not? Just write it out. Kayaliya Nirvadhi Vipula cha Prithvi. Time is infinite and the world is vast. If you write it in the proper way, there must come a day when it will be accepted. Have faith in yourself. You people were once the Vedic rishis, only you have come in different forms. That's all. I see it clear as daylight that you all have infinite power in you. Rouse that up. Arise, arise. Apply yourselves, heart and soul. Gird up your loins. What will you do with wealth and fame that are so transitory? Do you know what I think? I don't care for mukti and all that. My mission is to arouse within you all such ideas. I am ready to undergo 100,000 rebirths to train up a single man. Disciple, but sir, what will be the use of undertaking such works? Is it not death stalking behind? Swami, Swamiji, fie upon you. If you die, you will die but once. Why will you die every minute of your life by constantly harping on death like a coward? Disciple, all right, sir, I may not think of death, but what good will come of any kind of work in this constantly harp come of any kind of work in this evanescent world? Swamiji, my boy, when death is inevitable, is it not better to die like heroes than as stocks and stones? And what is the use of living a day or two more in this transitory world? It is better to wear out than to rust out, especially for the sake of doing the least good to others. Disciple, it is true, sir. I beg your pardon for troubling you so much, Swamiji. I don't feel tired even if I talk for 2 whole nights to an earnest enquirer. I can give up food and sleep and talk and talk. Well, if I have a mind, I can sit up in samadhi in a Himalayan cave. And you see that nowadays, through the Mother's grace, I have not to think about food. It comes anyhow. Why then don't I do so? And why am I here? Only the sight of the country's misery and the thought of its future do not let me remain quiet anymore. Even samadhi and all that appear as futile, even the sphere of Brahma with its enjoyments becomes insipid. My vow of life is to think of your welfare. The day that vow will be fulfilled, I shall leave this body and make a state run up. Hearing Swamiji's words, the disciple sat speechless for a while, gazing at him, wondering in his heart. Then, with a view to take his leave, he saluted Swamiji reverently and asked his permission to go. Swamiji, why do you want to go? Why not live in the Mutt? Your mind will again be polluted if you go back to the worldly minded. See here, how fresh is the air. There is the Ganges, and the sadhus are practicing meditation and holding lofty talks, while the moment you will go to Calcutta, you will be thinking of nasty stuff. The disciple joyfully replied, "All right, sir, I shall stay today at the Mutt." "Swamiji, why today? Can't you live here for good? What is the use of going back to the world?" The disciple bent down his head, hearing Swamiji's words. Various thoughts crowded into his brain and kept him speechless. Talk number 29. Auspiciousness of time and place, work and self-realization. Karma Yoga, India wants manifestation of Raja's bright future for the country. Place the Belur Mutt under construction, year beginning of 1899. Today Swamiji is walking round the new Mutt Ground in the afternoon in company with the disciple. Standing at a little distance of the bale tree, Swamiji took to singing slowly a Bengali song, "O Himalaya, Ganesha is auspicious to me," etc., ending with the line, "And many dandies, sannyasis, and yogis with matted hair will also come." While singing the song, Swamiji repeated this line to the disciple and said, "Do you understand? In course of time, many sadhus and sannyasis will come here." Saying this, he sat under the tree and remarked, "The ground under the bilwa tree is very holy. Meditating here quickly brings about an awakening of the religious instinct." Sri Ramakrishna used to say so. Disciple, sir, those who are devoted to the discrimination between the self and not self, have they any need to consider the auspiciousness of place, time, and so forth? Swamiji, those who are established in the knowledge of the Atma have no need for such discriminations, but that state is not attained offhand. It comes as the result of long practice. Therefore, in the beginning, one has to take the help of external aids and learn to stand on one's own legs. Later on, when one is established in the knowledge of the Atma, there is no more need for any external aid. The various methods of spiritual practice that have been laid down in the scriptures are all for the attainment of the knowledge of Atma. Of course, these practices vary according to the qualifications of different aspirants, but they also are a kind of work, and so long as there is work, the Atma is not discovered. The obstacles to the manifestation of the Atma are overcome by practices as laid down in the scripture. But work has no power of directly manifesting the Atma. It is only effective in removing some veils that cover knowledge. Then the Atma manifests by its own effulgence. Do you see? Therefore does your commentator Shankara say, "In the knowledge of Brahma there is not the least touch of work." Disciple. But, sir, when the obstacles to self-manifestation are not overcome without the performance of work in some form or other, then indirectly work stand as a means to knowledge. Swamiji, from the standpoint of the causal chain, it so appears prima facie. Taking up this view, it is stated in the Purva Mimamsa that work for a definite end infallibly produces a definite result, but the vision of the Atma, which is absolute, is not to be compassed by means of work. For the rule with regard to a seeker of the Atma is that he should undergo spiritual practice but have no eye to its results. It follows thence that these practices are simply the cause of the purification of the aspirant's mind. For if the Atma could be directly realized as a result of these practices, then scriptures would not have enjoined on the aspirant to give up the results of work. So it is with a view to combat the Purva Mimamsa doctrine of work with motive producing results that the philosophy of work without motive has been set forth in the Gita. Do you see, disciple? But sir, if one has to renounce the fruits of work, why should one be induced to undertake work which is always troublesome? Swamiji, in this human life, one cannot help doing some kind of work always. When man has perforce to do some work, karma yoga enjoins on him to do it in such a way as will bring freedom through the realization of the Atma. As to your objection that none will be induced to work, the answer is that whatever work you do has some motive behind it. But when, by the long performance of work, one notices that one work merely leads to another through a round of births and rebirths, then the awakened discrimination of man naturally begins to question itself. Where is the end to this interminable chain of work? It is then that he appreciates the fruit import of the words of the Lord in the Gita. Inscrutable is the course of work. Therefore, when the aspirant finds that work with motive brings no happiness, then he renounces action. But man is so constituted that to him the performance of work is a necessity. So, what work should he take up? He takes up some unselfish work but gives up all desire for its fruits. For he has known then that in those fruits of work lie countless seeds of future births and deaths. Therefore, the knower of Brahma renounces all actions, although to outward appearances he engages himself in some work. He has no attachment for it. Such men have been described in the scriptures as karma yogins. Disciple is then the work without motive of the unselfish nor of Brahma like the activities of a lunatic. Swamiji, why so? Giving up the fruits of work means not to perform work for the good of one's own body or mind. The knower of Brahma never seeks his own happiness, but what is there to prevent him from doing work for the welfare of others? Whatever work he does without attachment for its fruits brings only good to the world. It is all for the good of the many, for the happiness of the many. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, they never take a false step. Have not you read in the Uttara Rama Charita? Rishinam Punradhan Vacho Dhavati. The words of the ancient rishis have always some meaning. They are never false. When the mind is merged in the Atma by the suppression of all modifications, it produces a dispassion for the enjoyment of fruits of work here or hereafter. That is, there remains no desire in the mind for any enjoyment here or after death in any heavenly sphere. There is no action and interaction of desires in the mind. But when the mind descends from the superconscious state into the world of I and mind, then by the momentum of previous work or habit or sanskaras impressions, the functions of the body go on as before. The mind then is generally in the superconscious state. Eating and other functions of the body are done from mere necessity, and the body consciousness is very much attenuated. Whatever work is done after reaching this transcendental state is done rightly. It conduces to the real well-being of man and the world. For then the mind of the doer is not contaminated by selfishness or calculation of personal gain or loss. The Lord has created this wonderful universe, remaining always in the realm of superconsciousness. Therefore, there is nothing imperfect in this world. So I was saying that the actions which the knower of the Atma does without attachment for fruits are never imperfect, but they conduce to the real well-being of man and the world. Disciple, sir, you said just now that knowledge and work are contradictory, that in the supreme knowledge there is no room at all for work, or in other words, that by means of work the realization of Brahma cannot be attained. Why then do you now and then speak words calculated to awaken great Rajas activity? You were telling me the other day, work, work, work. There is no other way besides it. Swamiji, going around the whole world, I find that people of this country are immersed in great tamas inactivity compared with people of other countries. On the outside, there is a simulation of the sattvika, calm and balanced state, but inside, downright inert, inert, inertness like that of stocks and stones. What work will be done in the world by such people? How long can such an inactive, lazy, and sensual people live in the world? First travel in Western countries, then contradict my words. How much of enterprise and devotion to work, how much enthusiasm and manifestation of rajas are there in the lives of the Western people? While in your country, it is as if the blood has become congealed in the heart so that it cannot circulate in the veins, as if paralysis has overtaken the body and it has become languid. So, my idea is first to make the people active by developing their rajas and thus make them fit for the struggle for existence. With no strength in the body, no enthusiasm at heart, and no originality in the brain, what will they do? These lumps of dead matter. By stimulating them, I want to bring life into them. To this, I have dedicated my life. I will rouse them through the infallible power of Vedic mantras. I am born to proclaim to them that fearless message: arise, awake. Be you my helpers in this work. Go over from village to village, from one portion of the country to another, and preach this message of fearlessness to all, from the Brahmana to the Chandala. Tell each and all that infinite power resides within them, that they are sharers of immortal bliss. Thus rouse up the rajas within them, make them fit for the struggle for existence, and then speak to them about salvation. First, make the people of the country stand on their legs by rousing their inner power. First, let them learn to have good food and clothes and plenty of enjoyment. Then tell them how to be free from this bondage of enjoyment. Laziness, meanness, and hypocrisy have covered the whole length and breadth of the country. Can an intelligent man look on all this and remain quiet? Does it not bring tears to the eyes? Madras, Bombay, Punjab, Bengal, whichever way I look, I see no signs of life. You are thinking yourselves highly educated. What nonsense have you learnt? Getting by heart the thoughts of others in a foreign language and stuffing your brain with them and Taking some university degrees, you consider yourselves educated. Fie upon you. Is this education? What is the goal of your education? Either a clerkship or being a roguish liar, or at the most a deputy magistracy, which is another form of clerkship. Is not that all? What good will it do you or the country at large? Open your eyes and see what a piteous cry for food is rising in the lands of Bharata, proverbial for its wealth. Will your education fulfill this want? Never. With the help of Western science, set yourselves to dig the earth and produce foodstuffs not by means of mean servitude of others, but by discovering new avenues to production by your own exertions aided by the Western science. Therefore, I teach the people of this country to be full of activities so as to be able to produce food and clothing for themselves. For want of food and clothing, and plunged in anxiety for it, the country has come to ruin. What are you doing to remedy this? Throw aside your scriptures in the Ganges and teach the people first the means of procuring their food and clothing, and then you will find time to read to them the scriptures. If their material wants are not removed by the rousing of intense activity, none will listen to words of spirituality. Therefore, I say, first rouse the inherent power of the Atma within you, then rousing the faith of the general people in that power as much as you can. Teach them, first of all, to make provision for food, and then teach them religion. There is no time to sit idle. Who knows when death will overtake one? While saying these words, a mingled expression of remorse, sorrow, compassion, and power shone on his face. Looking at his majestic appearance, the disciple was awed into silence. A little while afterward, Swami said again, that activity and self-reliance must come in the people of the country in time. I see it clearly. There is no escape. The intelligent man can distinctly see the vision of the next three yugas ahead. Ever since the advent of Sri Ramakrishna, the eastern horizon has been aglow with the dawning rays of the sun, which in course of time will illumine the country with the splendor of the midday sun. So this video is completed. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Namaskar my dear friend. Next video will start with the talk number 30.